After a tumultuous start to his career, Baker Mayfield has resurrected his career in Tampa. Last season, he led the Bucs to a division title and to an upset dub against the Eagles in the wild card round of the playoffs. The Bucs rewarded Baker's performance with a 3-year deal that could be worth up to $115 million in incentives. Baker Mayfield, no longer worried about finding a new team, had this to say on a Tampa radio show. "You're having a lot more fun when you're not getting shipped off to a different place like a piece of dirty laundry, I'll tell you that. So when I got embraced in Tampa, it made a world of difference." We got Dan here, we got Booger here, and we got Mad Dog here. I think it should be called Tampa Baker, by the way. Dan, has Baker been disrespected so far in his career, do you think?
I think Baker's the most disrespected and underappreciated player we have in the NFL since he got in the NFL. The only other guys that might be in the conversation are like Russell Wilson of recent memory and Josh Allen that we've talked about. To put into context what Baker Mayfield has done since he got drafted, in fact, this is not opinion. He goes to the Cleveland Browns #1. He has one of the better rookie seasons in the NFL when it comes to touchdown passes. I believe he broke Russell Wilson's rookie record when it comes to touchdown passes as a rookie. He takes a franchise that was inarguably the worst franchise in North American sports, takes him to the playoffs within, I think, a 2 or 3 year window, then goes and wins a playoff game and beats the arch rival Pittsburgh Steelers. Gets hurt, tries to play hurt, gets shipped off. He's part of 2 organizations. One, Carolina, was a mess at that moment. Goes to the Rams. He's on the Rams for like 48 hours. Wins an NFL game on prime time. And then goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a, hey, we kind of might potentially maybe believe in you, but not really that much. Wins their starting quarterback job. Then leads them to the playoffs. Almost knocks off the Detroit Lions. In the last 2 years that Baker Mayfield has been healthy as a starting quarterback in the NFL, he's thrown for 54 touchdowns and 21 interceptions. That is really high-end starting quarterback play in the NFL, but people talk about Baker Mayfield like he's an unquestionable bust, and it's an underappreciation that is greater than any player, really, that we've had in the NFL in the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, you know, people talk about Baker Mayfield because of what he is. When you're the #1 overall pick in the draft, the expectations are that you're going to be not only maybe the best quarterback in the draft, but one of the best players in the draft, and he hasn't been. Okay, and if you look at what happened in Cleveland, I'll give him a lot of credit in Cleveland. The coaching staff, everything was a mess, and the entire organization. But Baker Mayfield was kind of pigeonholed himself. He struggled to throw the football accurately from the pocket. He couldn't really see over the defense. He had to get on the edges of the defense in order to push the football down the field. And so we started to realize who Baker Mayfield was. He was a short quarterback who needed play-action pass to succeed, who needed to be deep dropping in the pocket so he could see the football field from a lens that he could push the ball down the field. Now, you talk about these other stops. In L.A. with the 48 hours, in Carolina, I hear a lot of excuses. At some point, this is a talent league. Teams just don't get rid of talented players. And there have been several organizations that said this guy wasn't talented enough based on what he is now relative to where he was picked as far as #1 overall to be our starting quarterback. Now, I will give you credit. In Tampa, he has found a home because Tampa realized what he is. He's not a top 10 to 15 quarterback in football. He is a serviceable guy who, if you surround him with a lot of talent, can be an average to a little bit above average quarterback, and that's what he's done. But if you're going to tell me...
Hold on, Boog. No, I'm pushing back on you real quick, Boog. Hold on. Honest question here, and tell the truth. Right now, if the Cleveland Browns had this roster... And who would you believe in more, Deshaun or Baker?
I can answer that honestly. I believe in Baker more than Deshaun, but that's not saying much because I don't believe in Deshaun at all right now because he hasn't shown us the true Deshaun in like 2 or 3 years. So I'll give you that point. I'll concede that point to you right now. If I had to win a game tomorrow, who do I want at the quarterback position based on what I've seen in the last 2 years? I'm going with Baker Mayfield. But that's more about Deshaun Watson and what he's not than what Baker Mayfield is. I just think that the proper amount of respect has been paid to this young man based on the thought of what he was going to be when he got drafted #1 overall relative to what he's been. And I think he's kind of settled in where he should be, which is an average, maybe to a little bit above average quarterback in football. And that's fine. They've accepted him for what he is. He's not in the upper tier of the upper top 10 quarterbacks in football. And if you put him there, then you'd be disappointed. But he's properly rated, and I think the level of disrespect to me is really nonsense.
I agree with you, Booger, 1,000%. Everything you said there, believe it or not, I agree with you. He was a number one pick in a draft, Dan. With number one pick in a draft comes some sense of expectation. And Stefanski's a good coach. He got rid of him. McVay's a good coach. He got rid of him. These are two big-time coaches, especially McVay. McVay got rid of him. Matt Rule, all right, I know Matt Rule is not Lombardi. He got rid of him down in Carolina. Plus, before you go out there and put him a statue down at Raymond James Stadium, they went 9-8 last year. They went 9-8 in the worst division in football. That division's terrible. They went 9-8.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they won 13 games. They went 9-8. They beat an Eagle team that was a disaster, that the coach is lucky he kept his job in the playoff game and had no defense. And then he went to Detroit. And what he does a lot, he teases you. He teased the Browns. Then he went into the Kansas City playoff game. Last 4 incompletions with a chance to win the game. Oklahoma, he was quarterbacking them. He blew a 31-14 lead at the half against Georgia in the Rose Bowl. He has Detroit last year, 4 straight incompletions at 31-23 with the ball with 2 minutes to go. He is a tease. He is decent enough. He is serviceable. Booker hit it 1,000% correct. He is somewhere in that 12 to 15, 16 level. That is where he is. He's resilient. You give him that. He's tough. You give him that. He's competitive. You give him that. I give you that. But to put him any higher than mid-rank in the NFL, that's not fair. And there's no proof of it. There's no proof of it.
Okay, first of all, McVay didn't get rid of him. He was a free agent after that season. Matt Rule didn't get rid of him. To my knowledge, Baker Mayfield asked to get out of Carolina. So that's just to clarify those things. Stefanski in Cleveland, I believe that's accurate. All right, if you guys, mainly Mad Dog, if you're going to sit here and say, and Boog, you said it, number one pick, you have higher expectations, I'll give you that. But then make sure that Brock Purdy's in your top 5 quarterback list, both of you guys. Because if we're going to sit there and say where you get drafted should have a correlation on the expectation of performance and how you're judged, then Brock Purdy has to be in our top 5 and everybody's top 5. And he wasn't in your top 10, Mad Dog, because he was the last pick of the draft. He's obviously far out exceeding what those expectations are.
Hold on now. One doesn't have anything to do with the other. You draft a quarterback in the 7th round. You hope that you get lucky. You draft the guy number 1 in the draft. You're building your franchise around him. You're not building your franchise around Purdy.
And beat the Steelers 2 years after winning 0 games.
And how many interceptions did Roethlisberger throw that day? Was it 7?
3?
Oh, no, he didn't. He threw a lot more than 3.
So there's no credit given to the other team.
No, I'm being honest. I'm being honest. And by the way, if McVay wanted Baker so badly, why did he let him go? If McVay wanted to let him go, why didn't McVay keep him if he's that good? As insurance with Stafford. Why didn't he keep him?
He had Stafford.
He was banged up a lot. He didn't play the last 7 games. Why didn't he keep him?
Because he had.
Here's the thing I'll say about Baker Mayfield, guys, and I think I can confidently say this right now, living here in Tampa, where he's going to quarterback. Baker Mayfield has played his best football because he's got a chip on his shoulders. And so if he feels disrespected, if he feels like that the people around the National Football League have given up on him, if he feels like he's been a castaway and he can continue to play the way he's played the last 2 years, then hats off to Baker. But if we're going to look around the landscape of football and say that based on what has happened to Baker Mayfield, meaning he's no longer in Cleveland, he's no longer in LA, he's no longer in Carolina, that he's been disrespected, we don't get rid of talented players in the sport. We want to accumulate talent. Those teams only get rid of those players because they think they can find more talented players. And Dan, by the way, he's only signed to a 3-year deal here in Tampa. Tampa is still looking for their franchise quarterback long term. He is just a stopgap, and I think when you treat him with the proper respect, then you can appreciate who he is. And I think that's why he's fit in so well here in Tampa.
Yep, 3 years, $100 million contract there in Tampa. But we know that Baker loves playing with a chip on his shoulder, so we'll see what he does this season.